Storyboat 700 Plus project was all about making connections with the Church of St Peter's and the heritage it holds and the people of Portishead and bringing those together. It's an amazing building. It's been here for so long and it's held the stories of people through the years, and it still does. And some people know that, and some people don't know that it's here for them, and we wanted to tell everybody that this place is here for them.
I remember one of the first times I came into the church, just having this real sense of all the people that had prayed in it over the last 700 years. And what's really wonderful about the Storyboat project is the fact that it is so entwined with the life and story of the church, that the stories that have been held within the church are also linked with the flotilla, are linked within the tidal tales and the patronal service. And those stories are stories which convey parts of God's goodness and where God has been present in the ups and in the downs of life. And as a church, we're still here despite everything, despite what's happened over the last 700 years.
St Peter's Church originates from the early 14th century, and it is a listed building. Now, the building is slowly degraded, as buildings do, and there comes a time when they need some TLC. In 2018, there was a small team formed which put together an application to the National Lottery Fund, which was unsuccessful, but the National Lottery made very encouraging noises for us to reapply. So we put together another team and generated a project, made a second application in late 2019, and this was successful. We heard in early 2020.
St Peter's were really keen not only to restore some of the architectural heritage of the building, but to really involve the community in listening to their voices really and exploring what it means to be part of not only the community of the church, but the community of Portishead. And Portishead has such a rich and interesting and diverse heritage.
So we set up workshops with lots of kind of the harder to reach groups, so the refugees group and the dementia carers group and the young carers group. So we work with lots of little organisations. We set up the workshops and we had it all lined up, all ready to go. And then COVID hit. And so we had to massively rethink how this strand of the project went.
Originally, most of creatively what was going to happen was live. So it was a live performance, it was a live promenade, the picnic following the patronal festival and service would have all been live in terms of connecting with the community. With COVID, that was impossible. So we had to think really creatively in terms of how we could reach the widest number of participants in the community.
First, we used the networks we already had. So we used the church networks. We wrote to everybody who'd been bereaved in the year and asked them if they wanted to make a boat in memory of one of their loved ones. And we got quite a few stories through that. And then we asked for help, and Theatre Orchard were brilliant. They came to our help and they said, hey, it's all right, we can do this. We can do through social media. And so they helped us, they trained us up and got some of our team sort of social media savvy. And we put out requests on through the networks, the social media networks and the local social media pages, and invited people to write in their stories, and they did.
I enjoyed looking at the stories that people had written. Being old Portishead, there were a lot of people that I recognised with their stories. I sort of started to read, oh, I know that person, I sort of know their story. And there were some interesting things, oh, I didn't know that. But I really enjoyed it.
The best bit of the project was actually the day when we hung them up, when people were reading the stories together and laughing, the gales of laughter as people read stories and remembered things and taught and shared them. And then there was some crying as well, because some of the stories are really moving. And the people who we'd hoped to get to help us make the framework, we had to rethink that. But Theatre Orchard had really great contacts, and they put us in touch with Spiralux, who are a company who do this kind of thing regularly, it seems. And so they came in and worked out how to make the framework and install it. And they were, priceless. We couldn't have done it without them, actually.
One of the real strengths of the partnership of the project, of Theatre Orchard working alongside St Peter's and key kind of stakeholders in the community, as well as the community themselves, is that we were able to adapt Working in partnership with Abby from Multi-Story Drama Academy has been a huge strength, because it's meant that creatively that those voices of the young people that are so important to this project in terms of aspirations for the future and what a community needs to be in terms of the future have really been able to be listened to in an impactful and meaningful way.
So I knew we'd do a performance based on 700 years. So that was our starting point, 700 years. So we trawled through the internet, just trying to find, good, juicy stories that possibly involved the church, but involved Portishead and what the church had seen over 700 years. And narrowed it down to 10 stories. So we played around with each story, but with some historical research as well. I kind of presented them with a history lesson and the story, and they did what children do, and that is play around with it and make it fun and funny. And I took it away and took their work away and made a script. I wanted a choral figure that came through the churchyard, through the 700 years. And initially we wanted it to be the lighthouse, because the lighthouse has seen so much. But, we realised through research that the lighthouse wasn't as old as all that, but the water was, and the water has seen everything. The play itself is about our community, and I guess the consistent thing in the play is the fact that the community is stuck together through the years. The 13 men, they would have had to have stuck together. How would they have survived? How would they have built this community right from the beginning, going through to civil war, both world wars. This community of Portishead I just found so fascinating. So that consistency, but then the change in Portishead is something that I've learnt about.
Well, when we were first practicing here, I felt a bit different because I was a bit more sceptical like everybody else, because we didn't really know if it was respectful or not to do it in the churchyard.
Whilst I was walking around, I could see some of the names and stuff very familiar, and that I felt quite connected to some of the people, because I know some of their stories and stuff.
All the graves are the stories from Portishead and people who've lived here for either a really long time or just a short period of time. So it's a bit more I understand why they're here.
I think from the outset, my vision as a theatre maker was always to bring the highest level of professional creativity to this project. We brought in artist Helen Wheelock, who created the most magnificent willow structures that were put in St. Peter's Church, and they are phenomenal. They're huge and beautiful, professionally lit by Spiralux. They were actually supposed to be handheld props that would have been paraded in a promenade performance towards the doors of the church for the Patronal Festival. That evolved into these amazing pieces of art, an installation that can stay in the church.
I've just really enjoyed watching people's reactions as they've come in through the door and seen the flotilla, the different willow structures that are around, and the sense of awe that's gained as they go and they look around and have been able to stop and reflect. And I think it's true when they say when you see things the other side of it rather than in the midst of it, you get to really enjoy how others get to enjoy all the hard work that's been put in.
When we realised that this was something that was going to have more of a recorded legacy element to reach out further into the community, then it really felt that the music and voices and people being able to listen felt really important. So we brought on Sarah Moody, who is a professional cello player, international professional cello player.
Performing this work felt like an honour and also a fine balancing act, because I felt I was really aware that I was an outsider to the community coming in to perform their music, and it needed to be done well and sensitively. So there were a group of young people from the community, and it was just when we were able to meet in the room with all the doors open, and we had one session to come up with 4 pieces which highlighted the young people's hopes and aspirations and thoughts of living in Portishead. And we wrote 4 pieces. One was the environment, another one was around Portishead itself, another one was around happiness.
Power stations, chemical works. Boom! The lighthouse. 30 foot of black metal.
I think Theatre Orchard have given me the confidence to do this. They have provided me with a kind of backbone all the way through. It was amazing the way that we have worked together, really. It's been just a gentle, just looking after and guiding me through. That's how I have felt.
I was invited to be a marshal for the Tidal Tales, and so I was able to guide people round, but I also got the opportunity to listen to the actual stories, and it touched me so much. These children were absolutely wonderful, and we are so lucky to have such wonderful children in our community, and it really was. And also to see the lady in the church playing the cello, and that made me cry.
It's been hard work. It really has been hard work, and I think it's been hard work for everybody on the project team. It's also been worthwhile working on a project team where everybody has actually worked hard. They've made suggestions and they've actually volunteered for actions, which is excellent from that point of view. Seeing the completed building and seeing the completed installation, that's been very, very worthwhile.
I think it's been a really great project for the church. I think it's helped us see the depth of connections that we already have into the community here. And it's given us confidence in who we are and said, come, this place is for you too. And I think that makes us more resilient. I think confidence makes you resilient. If you think you can, if we know we can do this as a church, and we can make these, and draw on our strengths and help other people to find their home here, then that gives us confidence to think, yeah, we can do that again, and we can do it in other ways as well. We've gone wide and we've gone deep, and I would love more people to be able to read them now, and so we're planning what to do in the autumn. We're going to take them down and give people a chance to read them again, because that's the best bit. So the boats were hanging in the nave of St Peter's for about 4 months, and we decided when we took them down that we really ought to celebrate it as we send them on the next stage of their journey. So we brought them down and invited anybody who wanted to come in and read them as they helped us unhook them and take them apart and get them ready to be recorded. And then we decided we thought we also could have a fish and chip supper, so it gave opportunity for people to sit and read the stories together, share their stories, share their memories, and eat fish and chips, which seemed to go with a nautical theme. And then as a final fling, we had a gig which had spoken word, a poet, Beth Calverley came, and some local musicians to send us off in style.
Phosphorus. Every story is a spark that comes to life when it meets the air. You have to store them carefully. It's challenging if you don't keep archives. They will flash and float away like the stuff that came off the lorries to the factories. Phosphorus for matches, coal for power stations A and B, making electricity, and nails for horseshoes.
I could have lived anywhere, but I decided this was the place for me. Grab a cup of tea and join me. As well as the army uniforms, there were scouts and guides, cubs and brownies, cake sales and summer fetes. the church, at the heart of the community. When I felt like a tooth that had been pulled out, Portishead chose us.
It was really lovely to have people from all sections of the community coming together to help us celebrate our Land Ho gig on the Saturday evening. It was particularly great coming out of the COVID times and to celebrate our life together as a community, and how the Storyboat 700 Plus has helped us appreciate that and cherish it, I think, going forward. We're hoping to do different things with the boats. Some of them are really very special and they need to be recorded carefully, so we're going to scan some of them in. Some of them we're going to actually ask the people who we know who wrote them to actually read them to us, and we'll capture those with the oral history strand of the project. And some of them we are going to photograph en masse, because there's so many and they're wonderful, they look great together, so we're going to photograph those ones as groups. And then, rather lovely I think, is that they're going to go to the community garden and we're going to use them as weed suppressant and grow our fruit trees through them, so that the stories of the future will be grown through the stories of the past.